Guys, I don't really do YouTube videos for the simple reason that everything I ever want to look at is on the internet and I can find it dead easy. However, this thing, you cannot find any information about this bike anywhere, which seems mad to me. This is the 2020 Meta Power SX. So it's a 650B e-bike from Commencal. It is a beautiful looking thing, and I'm pretty certain that it is one of the main reasons that you'll be looking at this bike, because it is a gorgeous looking thing. The second reason is, almost certainly, it's got a coil. So it's got a RockShox coil ultimate, Super Deluxe coil ultimate. So those combinations of things, great looking bike, it's got a coil on it. You think, great, I'll have a go. But there is no reviews. There's just a tiny little e-mountain bike forum, and that's about it. So this is the reason I'm making this video, to try and do someone a favour and tell you a little bit about this bike. So, to give you a bit of background, I also ride, I've got a Capra Pro Race 29, and I've also got an Intense Primer 29 as well. So they're my two normal bikes. That's obviously short travel, that's 130mm. That is a long travel, that's 170mm. Now, I live in the south of England, around the South Downs kind of area, and obviously the burning question that everyone wants to know about this bike is it too much bike? Is it going to be crap on the flatter bits of trail? The answer to that question, in my opinion, is no. Now, before I had this, I had a Merida E160, so it's not my first e-bike. I know what I'm doing with this, that kind of stuff, and in actual fact, I've just taken it round for its inaugural ride today, and it's been great. Okay, Strava times, I know, not ideal, but I've done probably faster times on this bike than I have on virtually any of my other bikes. Obviously, it's a bit heavier, but I have taken the Merida around those same circuits, and again, it seems to be quicker than the Merida. A lot of moaning was made about the rear tyre on this bike. So this is a Maxxis Agassi double down, and everyone was moaning that this thing was really, really slow. Doesn't appear to be for me. It's quick enough, loads of grip. I might have had a little bit too much air in it for the first time out. I've had 27 PSI in it. I would actually run it a little bit lower than that, because it is a little bit too reboundy, to be honest, at the moment. So tomorrow we'll drop that down a little bit. So what's it like to ride? So it's long travel bike. It's very, very capable. Obviously, it's got a really, really aggressive geometry, but in all honesty, I don't think it's any lesser to ride than probably my Capra Pro Race. It feels a bit funny going back to 650B. It feels a bit like a BMX, but that's exactly what I wanted. The Merida, one of the big problems I had with it last time, had these big 2.8 Maxxis tyres, and the centrifugal force, if you're changing direction really quickly through a trail, was just too great, and you often felt that it was difficult to change direction because of those big tyres. Now, you don't have that problem at all with this bike, which is brilliant, and it means that twistier bits of track, even though it's got a 64-degree head angle, it goes through just fine. So I really don't see that it's a problem if you are on slightly flatter bits of trail. Now, the other thing that people want to know about, how does it climb? Well, the great news is it climbs really, really well. I didn't use the lockout switch at all. So I think the geometry, I've pushed the saddle forward a little bit because, if we get it to focus here, can we get it to focus? Possibly not. Anyway, saddle, yeah, there we go. So saddle's quite a long way forward. And that's because it's quite a long wheelbase bike. It's quite a lot longer than both my Primer and my Capra. However, this is going to sound mad, it doesn't feel like a big bike. It doesn't feel like a big bike to ride. it's still very, very compact, and I think that's because I've been so used to riding 29 for quite some time. But I don't think it proves a problem again. It's a very, very agile is definitely a word I would use for it, bike. So overall, I think it's a great machine, and even if you do live near flatter trails without massive mountains, not a problem. I think it's great. Now, so let's just talk about components a little bit and talk about some of the cons and things I think aren't quite as good. So tyres we've talked about already. Fork seems great. Never had a Lyric before. I do miss the fact that it doesn't have a low speed rebound. As I was hitting some pretty big, you can see I've used most of my travel today, so I was hitting some pretty big booters today and some big deep compressions. You know, you go really flow into it really fast, and I felt that if it had some low speed rebound to help control that, I think it would probably be beneficial. But what can you do? Could have gone for the more expensive model with the Fox on it, but I didn't. The coil, now I'm going to say something really, really sacrilegious here. I like coils, and this one is really, really great. However, I don't think it's as good damping wise as my X2 that's on my Capra. I actually think this thing feels slightly smoother and slightly more controlled from a damping perspective, even though this is actually RockShox's top model that they fit on this bike. But it might take a bit more tuning. I weigh roughly about 75 kilos, about 80 probably all up with all my gear on, and this is the 400-pound spring, and it hits right at about 27 to 30% sag. So again, no real problems on the sag side of things, so that's great. Wheel set seems fine, no problems there. So let's talk about the brakes. So these are codes. These are very, very high-end calipers on here. So you've got the code R, that's what they're called. However, I've given this an absolute leathering today. I've given it 3 laps of my normal, and the brake pads haven't really bedded in properly, which is a bit unusual. And I think it's because if we have a look at the back of this pad here, they're using a really, really hard sintered compound. I've only ever used, like on my Capra here, so my Capra's also got codes on it. I can get those. That's got code ultimates. That's got the organic pads. You can see the black ones there. These are, if we go around again, these are the red sintered ones. Now, they take a long, long time. Long time to wear in and bed in and start braking. At the start of my ride today, it was dangerous. At the end of my ride today, it was acceptable. So I'm still looking to hopefully get a bit more performance, and of course get that nice kind of worn in kind of look to the disc that you would normally get, like so, which I haven't got yet on this guy. Okay.